principal, and you can now put a face to the name on the regular Friday messages. And we started sending those messages during lockdown to keep parents informed of the ever-changing rules, regulations, and arrangements for exams at that time. But the feedback was that the majority of students and their parents quite liked that regular update on what's happening at the college. Now, you might have a son or daughter who comes home and tells you everything that's going on at college, or you may have a normal teenager. And we know that parents remain a really important part of a young person's life, despite what they might sometimes express, and that you really do influence the decisions regarding their next steps, for example. This year is going to be obviously really important, and I've spoken to all of the second year students saying, you know, the only inevitability really is that this part of their education is going to end. They've got to make some decisions about those next steps and where they head, whether that's employment, into apprenticeships or up to university. And our aim this evening is to give you an overview of the shape of the year, when those key points are, and about the support that we will be providing for all of those next steps. You can post onto the Q&A. We probably won't have time to look at those and answer them, or I will be looking when Chris and Isabelle are talking, and just keeping an eye on what people are saying. And I might come back to any key points at the end. But what we'll do is I'll send out a sort of a summary FAQ with probably separate to the Friday briefing email this week. I'll send one just to parents with the FAQs that have come out of tonight's meeting and last night's meeting that we did for first year students. If I can have the next slide, please. Just from me, just as we start, I have spoken to students about this, and for second year students, this is really just a reminder, but we are a very big college community. There's 2,500 students here, and this part of Cambridge has been getting increasingly busy. When the college was built some years ago as a girls' school, they put it out on the outskirts in a greenfield site so that none of the girls would be influenced by the temptations of town, and they put it, you know, half a mile away from the boys' school, which is now Hills Road. And even, you know, as we've been growing as a college, we've been a sixth form college now for 50 years. It's our celebration year this year. And what we've seen, as well as the college getting bigger, is this area around Cambridge growing massively. There's going to be, you know, 30,000 people working on this, living and working on this biomedical campus. We've got a new train station being built and is opening this year, right on the edge of the site. So we have to be more and more aware about not only what goes on in college and in terms of creating a nice, safe, secure learning environment that everyone can prosper in, but also about how we interact outside. And I would really appreciate a few reminders and support around our code of conduct inside and outside college. And I've talked to students about this. We don't want to have a load of unenforceable rules, but we also need to make sure that students are acting maturely. So just a couple of things I want to highlight. You've probably seen in the news a lot about mobile phones in schools, and there was a lot of stuff on about the academy that is banning across all of its schools, banning phones and taking them in from students. There is at least one sixth form college that I'm aware of that is doing the same, which is taking phones from students at the beginning of lessons. We've thought about our mobile phone policy. We absolutely are happy that students use their phones outside of class. We've improved Wi-Fi. We encourage students to bring laptops and bring their own devices in so they can work on in private study periods. But we also know that they can be a distraction when they're meant to be focusing in classrooms. And so the fairly straightforward and simple policy is that phones should be out of sight and out of mind during lesson time. And that means just turning notifications and alerts off, putting them in pockets, putting them in bags, and only using them under the direction of the teacher. So if the teacher says you can take your phone out now, use your calculator, take a picture of the homework on the board, or I don't know, look something up on the internet using your phone, that's absolutely fine. But other than that, we would give teachers the authority to our students to keep those phones out of sight, out of mind. Another thing that's been changing recently, unfortunately, is the rise of vaping. Smoking was going down quite a lot, that we'd seen fewer and fewer students smoking. But unfortunately, vaping is being taken up by a number of young people, and we're seeing that around our own student population. We have had to install vape sensors into the toilets now. Again, unlike other schools where they're locking toilets between lessons to stop this, which we don't do, but we are having to go in sometimes and intervene there. The main issue is really one about safety. Students going outside of college and smoking or standing in groups outside of the college, particularly on Long Road. Long Road is a busy road. The path outside is quite narrow, and it's also a cycle path. It's a shared cycle path. And we are quite concerned about the safety with that, with bikes going up and down that, particularly the bridge at some speed, and cars belting up and down Long Road as well. So we're trying very hard to stop students from gathering. It's not easy, and we'd appreciate you reminding them that as well, and very much we don't want accidents to happen. The next point again relates to the number of people in this area. We do sometimes have accidentally people coming in thinking we're part of the hospital. I've even had someone turn up into reception about to give birth and quite frantically asking where the maternity ward is before we can divert them over to the Rosie Hospital. And we have people who take shortcuts through the site, through the field. And so we have changed now this year to improve our sort of fencing and our perimeter fencing. And we have a single entrance into the college through reception. We're doing some building work on that over this year because that single entrance is not really big enough, and we're going to be doing some work on that over the course of the year. But we're getting students into the habit of coming in through that single entrance, and once they're onto the campus, we know that they're safe and secure, and we ask them to show their lanyards as they come through and to wear those. We also have to insist that they don't invite other students from other colleges to see us here, and that they don't go and visit any other colleges around the area as well. And the last point I would make again is just about the students' responsibility for attendance. And I know Chris is going to talk about the importance of attendance in this critical year. And I would just remind everybody that students who are unwell should self-report to the website, where there is a page that has got a drop-down menu, put the student name in, the date, and they put down why they're unable to attend, and that we make sure we've got explained absences for students who really can't be in on that day. Those are really the key things that I want to let you know about. We do still send out an attendance report each week, so you can see any lessons that have been missed, and if you've got any concerns, do contact us, contact the progress coach in the first instance, and Isabelle is going to talk about that when she talks about the sort of pastoral support that we've got this year. So I'm going to pass over to Chris Childs, Deputy Principal, who's going to talk about the academic shape of this year.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Chris Childs. I'm Deputy Principal at Long Road, and for the past sort of 6 or 7 years, been responsible for the sort of academic outcomes for all the students at the college. And it's pleasing to say that since 2022, we've achieved record results, and our results last year for both our applied level 3 courses and our A levels were the strongest we've had this century. So we're in a good, strong position. And what I wanted to sort of outline in sort of next 15 minutes or so is how we've achieved those results, and also look at that link between attendance and outcome. So from year one through tutorial and in many lessons, we worked using the Vesper mindset. And the Vesper mindset is designed really to develop strong habits, and habits are generally established at the start of the year. And particularly for year two students, it carries greater significance. Realistically, between now and May and June, when A level exams and the applied exams will finish, we've probably got about 35 weeks of teaching, and on average, 3 lessons a week, and works about 105 lessons that we have. And in order to help be successful, we look at the Vesper mindset and look at these 5 areas. So the first one is vision. I think that's really important, that there is not a wrong vision. It's really sort of thinking, what do you want to achieve? So that can be a goal in terms of a year's time where you may want to progress to. So that may be university, apprenticeship, or straight into work with training. But it's really key to have vision, and research, and particularly in our sort of sixth form college sector, suggests that students with strong vision and have targets are far more likely to reach those academic targets than students who do not. And Isabelle later will explain how we develop that vision within our students. Effort is key. And this is really, we sort of equate it to how much independent study is happening. We have 4.5 hours per week per subject, or if you're doing, larger subjects, 9 or 13.5 hours. And it's thinking the time you spend outside. And that varies from student to student, but often as students or people in general, we work against our peers and look at what our peers are doing as our judgment. We recommend 4 to 4.5 hours, but it's how you use that time. Some of that time may be spent on what we traditionally say is homework or assignments set by teachers or units for applied courses, but it's really looking at, over the next sort of 35 weeks, the sort of gains that can be made, and an hour and extra per subject. It's 35 hours extra. And when you look at that in revision terms, that's normally enough to move up a grade. And when we look at effort and outcomes, I think it's really important that when we look at examinations, when you imagine a bell curve looking at the results, most students in the country are very close to each other around that mean mark. So most students are 5% above or below mean. Essentially, normally the mean is a high C in A levels. So if you're 5% better, you're guaranteed a B. If you're about 10% better, guaranteed an A. And conversely, 5% below, probably a D, and another 5% an E. So that extra half an hour a week on a subject can make that difference. It's very, very small margins between, in achieving the grades you want to achieve. And within lessons, staff will be working on trying to develop these sort of independent study skills. Systems as well as linked to this in terms of organisation. Again, the more organised you are, you often spend less time looking for things and actually more doing. So how do you organise your learning time? This is dependent sometimes on where you live, distance to college. Will you try and complete your work outside of lessons in the study areas? Do you like to work at home, get it all done, and then go out or do other things or work? There's not a perfect system for each student. What we're saying is looking at what you're currently doing. Is it fulfilling exactly what you want to do, or can you organise in a way that makes you more productive and then supports your study? Practice, and a bit later, I'll be sort of talking through all the key dates when our key assessments are and mocks are. But practice is it's not one-off practice. Imagine you were playing golf or something like that. If you just played once every 3 months, and you wouldn't really improve. So practice is quite relentless. Are you practicing exam questions? Are you practicing recall? Small and often is really important when you're looking at practice. One-offs don't really work, because you're going to just practice 3 or 4 hours and then don't practice for another couple of months. It has virtually no impact. So again, it's those habits around practice. And then attitudinally, because in a couple of weeks we're going to have the KA5, which I'll show you in a minute, and that's for A-level students, that first sort of assessment point. Everyone wants to achieve the best grade. If you don't, how do you respond to that? You know, mocks and exams normally set up that we wouldn't expect students necessarily to be getting the top grade a year before they do the real exams, or 9 months before they do the real exams. So it's listening to feedback from staff, responding to that feedback, and then sort of working out systems and practice and how much effort you need to be able to achieve the targets that you want to do. So next slide, please, Abby. So what I've got here is a very simple table, but quite a powerful one, which looks at outcomes versus performance. And this is against sixth form colleges. So sixth form colleges probably educate about a third of all post-16 students. It's data-wise very significant. And what I've done here is you can see on the left, I've got A stars and distinction stars. So on average in a sixth form college, and obviously it varies at an individual level, you need about 95% attendance to achieve an A star and a D star. And there's many students who would have, say, Russell Group aspirations. And again, they say normally for a Russell Group, if that's what students are looking to go to, you need about 95% attendance. Then you can see A and a distinction, just under about 94.5, a B 93, and then a merit or C 91.4. Then once you drop below 90%, you can see D just under 90%, an E 87.7, and then a U about 85. So sort of contextual like that, if you got 85% in the exam, you'd be ecstatic. That'd be an A star on any examination that you would take, be it applied or A level. But to contextualize, if you had 85% attendance for 2 years at college, it's the equivalent of missing pretty much a term. It's 15% of the time. So when you look at it in that, no one would ever set out to, you know, miss that amount of time. And we also know that people get ill, you know, it's all of us. So it's really, again, with attendance, it's patterns. And if you can't attend, it's catching up that work, going to workshops, getting extra support from staff on the Tuesday, Wednesday afternoons, and trying to establish those attendance patterns. At a national level, attendance normally drops from year 1 to year 2 nationally by about 4%. So a student was on 94% attendance in year 1. On average, nationally, a student would be 90%. At college, we've bucked that trend last year, and the drop was very, very small. And it's something I want to try and maintain with all students, because attendance is not just being there, it's engagement, it's working in lessons, it has lots of other benefits, but it's a really sort of powerful. And if you look at 90%, that would still be 1 day missing a fortnight in terms of non-attendance. And again, most people don't set out to have that attendance, and we're not judgmental in that sense. We want to support, but I want to sort of try and make it clear, and teachers will be talking about this and in tutorial, about how important attendance is in this sort of second year of study. So for the next slide, please, Abby. So what I've put here is key dates in year 2, and we will, as Steve said earlier, send out more information in the FAQs. And I should say at this point that teachers will be sending out this week prepared for learning emails to yourself. So you would have received those last year in year 1. And the majority of teachers are the same teachers who had your sons and daughters in year 1. But there's obviously a slight, sometimes a bit of change with staff retiring, etc. So some of them may have a new teacher in the second year. So just going to spend a few minutes just talking through. So Key Assessment 5 is an A-level assessment. So this is coming up at the end of the month. It's an opportunity for students who, you know, perhaps want to improve their predicted grade for UCAS. It'd be an hour and a half slots, and this is examination really, which is building on perhaps work set over the summer or work completed in the spring term. Progress Audit 3 will be a report that will be sent to you on the 25th of October. So staff will input the grade from Key Assessment, what were they called, the working at grades, the predicted grade, which would be a UCAS predicted grade, and then they will look at some of the VESPA features like effort and systems and give a grading from 1 to 4, 1 being the strongest. We then follow that up straight after half term with the parent care evenings, so again on School Cloud, which you'll be familiar with, on the 12th and 13th of November. And then just before Christmas, we collapsed the timetable to make 3-hour slots, which are the sort of size of slots that you'd be, you know, most A-level exams vary between 2 to about 2.5 hours to do Key Assessment 6. Then at the start of January, we have the real level 3 applied exams. So some of the courses will have level 3 applied exams. Once those exams completed, the results would come out for those in mid-March. And then for our other applied students, I asked staff to fill in a working at grade for how students are doing on their applied courses, be it the certificate, extended certificate, diploma, or extended diploma. And then straight after half term, we have a full Key Assessment 7, which is a full mock. And what we do here is that we try and replicate as closely as possible the examinations that they'll be taking in May and June. So for example, we'd have, if we were doing psychology, we'd have all the psychologists sit the exam at the same time, have exam concessions and arrangements in there. We want to try and make it as real as possible. And so we put this sort of mock in. Really sort of key. Obviously, there's a big workload in terms of marking and turnaround and feedback, but then we follow that up before Easter with a second amount of parent and carer evenings via School Cloud. So that information is there, so to go through those final few weeks. Other things I think to be aware of, and this will come out in the Prepare for Learning, are when units are due in applied courses, and for about a third of A-levels, when the NEA, which is non-examined assessment. In the old days, people would sort of call it coursework, when those deadlines are due for the NEA and coursework. Because often, say, if you did 2 subjects, give you an example, English and film, they may have relatively similar deadlines because you've only got that certain amount of time to get it in and mark it and turn it around. So that information will be on the Prepared for Learning emails that go through, and it's really useful for you, for you to have a look at, and also your son and daughter just planning when those key deadlines are. Then lastly, and you can see start very, very early. You think when we come back from Easter, from the 12th of May to the 20th of June, are the summer A-level exams and the level 3 applied exams. And for many subjects, I'll give you a couple of examples from last year, say business or economics, business or psychology. Often 2 of the 3 exams will be before half term that the exam boards will put in. So really after Easter, we have 2 full weeks, and then we go into full exam modes for level 3 exams. And that will also include exams taken by year 1 students. Abby, for the next slide, please. Okay, last bit I want to talk about, because I get quite a lot of questions coming through about cover arrangements. I think first thing is the no cancelled lessons. That term cancelled, sometimes it's used, but it's not actually intended that the lesson was cancelled. So what we do is, staff members, imagine, is ill on the day and can't teach their lessons, we'll set work. Generally, they will send work in, or we get work from colleagues. We'll set work on Teams, and a member of staff will be at the start of the lesson to instruct students and take a register. I think it's really important. There's work there to do, and students are older. You think in year 2 they'll be 17, 18, 19 years old, that they work independently through that work. If staff are ill for a longer period, so 3 working days more, we will organise cover staff who will come in and physically be in the lessons, and we'll use colleagues or existing staff to help set up that work. So there will be an adult in that room supervising that work. And, again, if I'm talking about attendance, it's very fair to say, well, you've got to make sure, we're turning up, that there's work provided, and we'll endeavour to do our best to make sure work is set. And we're using Teams as that platform because it's accessible by students quite easily, and that, they can work beyond the lessons on there. So I think the sort of key takeaways are that in terms of looking at strong attendance this year, really looking at the year ahead, that plan for key assessments, when the applied exams are, when they are, and sort of plan revision time, get those systems in place, get the practice in place. It goes very quickly, as you know, with this term, there's going to be a lot of UCAS or planning ahead or looking at other jobs. So sometimes, we need to sort of get as organised as possible, and any questions that come through on the Prepared for Learning emails, please direct them initially to those teachers, because they're in the position best to respond. So I'm just going to now pass over to Isabelle, who's just sat beside me, who's going to talk about the pastoral.
Hello, so I'm Isabelle, and I'm the assistant principal responsible for the guidance team. So the guidance team is made up of the directors and progress coaches. Many of you will have met them already. What I'm going to do is talk specifically about how the guidance team work with year 2. So we're going to look at the one-to-one support that we offer, the progress reviews, the group support and how that's different this year, and how you can contact progress coaches if you haven't already, or if you've got there's a new progress coach this year, and making sure that you know the right person to contact. And then I'm going to look more specifically at help for different pathways, university, UCAS deadlines, predicted grades. What are those? How do we come up with those? And careers and apprenticeship guidance. Thank you, Abby. So progress coaches. I know that lots of you know this already, but each student has a progress coach. A progress coach has some overlap with a tutor from school, but the progress coaches, this is the work that they do all the time. So they've got really specialist knowledge in terms of different progression paths and supporting students. The progress coaches in the guidance team work with other departments in college, obviously with teachers and curriculum, with the academic support department, wellbeing and safeguarding, and also we have a small team of careers staff, specialist careers staff who support and advise us. So what they're trying to do is to help students both with the academic side that Chris has been talking about, but matching that academic side with thinking about future steps. So often having a clear idea of where they want to go is actually something that can help people to focus academically and to get through that final hurdle in year 2. And we want to make sure that people not only have ideas and have done research, but if there's a possibility of accessing some kind of work experience or support that would help them with their CVs, we want to make sure that we've helped them with that. So the progress coaches will be sending out a letter this week. This will show you how you can contact them, and they are really happy to put you in touch with other teams. Obviously, if it's subject specific, you can contact teachers, and teachers will be sending you a letter this week. But if you're unsure how to contact the academic support department or exams, for example, progress coaches are very happy to help direct you. Abby, could you just move this one on? So we have 3 directors of student care, guidance and progression. Every student has a director. The directors deal with more complex pastoral and disciplinary concerns. So we have Melanie Moore, Stephen White and Ryan Johnson, and some of you here will have already met them. It's really important that we have the right email and phone number for you so that they can contact you if needed, and that we make sure that that email reaches you if we invite you to come in or if you want to speak to us. Just to say here as well, if you have some concerns, we're aware that travel to college is quite difficult for some people's workplaces, so we can also arrange Teams meetings. Thank you, Abby. So, year 2 tutorial. In year 1, students will have met as a group every week. Year 2, we've designed 10 sessions that run between September and March. They've already had 2 sessions and we've got 8 more before March. So really, really important for lots of reasons is that students check email, because this will tell them when these sessions are. So this is designed specifically for year 2. So I've highlighted 3 things here that we'll be covering. Obviously, we'll be looking at support for the step up to year 2. Lots of students just manage to cope with independent working and deadlines in year 1, but might have issues that they're struggling with in year 2. One of the key things with Vespa is obviously attitude to feedback. How has particular results, how has that made them feel? How can they learn from that rather than making them feel overwhelmed and not able to cope? So we look at that in tutorial. In terms of progression, and I'm going to talk about that a little in a minute, we look at careers and courses. It's really important for students to know that we have students going on to all different pathways. So this is not just focused on university. This is about a range of different choices, finding the right thing for you, and then making sure you get the grades to be able to get onto that course or employment. Finally, I know it seems like a strange thing to think of, but in a year's time, when students leave Long Road, lots of them are going to live on their own or with friends. So we want to make sure that students are ready to leave Long Road. We look at independent living and finance, and we've taken advice from ex-students about what they wish they'd known. So it's not just what we think that students should know. Thank you, Abby. So, as I've said, we support all different pathways. I'm going to start with the university track, but lots of our students are still undecided. So, as well as pursuing apprenticeship or employment routes, are looking at making university applications. Students can make an application this year. They can decide to pull out of that. They can defer. So, if they keep wanting to keep it as an option, definitely it's worth making that application now. We obviously have the in-person support this year. You can apply in a gap year, and we will support and put references, and there's information on the website. But we would encourage you, if university is something you're thinking about, to give it a go this year. Predicted grades. So students will have already talked in the summer term with teachers about what their predictions are. So they will know that prediction, and that will be based either on the key assessment 4 that they did if they're doing an A-level subject, or on units that they've done in applied courses. We then can put in additional evidence from early year 2 work, so that grade might go up. So, for example, key assessment 5, summer exams that people have got results from, and that might have brought the grade up. Teachers can't just put any grade on there. We follow the UCAS request, which is that we predict based on what they're likely to achieve in positive circumstances. So on a good day, based on the work that they've done, what are they able to do on their best day? Obviously, if we over predict, this doesn't support a student, because we want students to get offers based on things that they can actually achieve. Obviously, they can go for an aspirational choice, and this is really important to talk through with progress coaches and to make decisions about what's the right thing for you. The draft reference has already been written by teachers, and progress coaches are working on putting that together. For UCAS, the teachers can change the grade up until October half term. That's not for the early applications, but for the main deadline, which most people apply for, we can make that change up till that point. But after that, we're working on securing the applications, making sure that they're finished and that they get in time. So please don't leave it too late to demonstrate to your teachers what you can do in positive circumstances. Thank you, Abby. So in terms of deadlines, you will know if there's someone in your house applying for medicine or Oxbridge, one of the early applications. These students have been working with Paul in biology, with Chloe and Stephen in our department to make sure that their personal statements are finished and they are making final changes. Lots of these students have been having one-to-ones this week for those early applications. For the main deadline, which is most students, including Russell Group students, if you want us to look at your personal statement, you need to get that to us by the 5th of November. That is the Wednesday after half term, and that is the date that we can keep taking personal statements till. If you've got one now, brilliant, bring it to your progress coach. They do them strictly in order, so if you bring one now, then they're not likely to have a long queue at this point. So in that review, this progress coach will give you 3 or 4 key pointers about what you need to do to change it. They don't rewrite it for people. You need to go back over that yourself. If you want your application in by the end of term, which is still early. You don't have to have completed it. You would need to pay and send by the 29th of November. When you pay and send, lots of people think the application goes straight to the university, but it actually comes to us, and then we do all those checks to make sure that you haven't put any information on there that you didn't mean to, or that there's nothing missing. If you want your application to go by Christmas, you might get earlier offers, but don't worry. As long as you get it to us by the 19th of December, which is the last day of term, we will get it there by the equal consideration deadline in January. So even if your friend is getting offers earlier, everybody is judged equally as long as you get it in by that 19th of December to us. Thank you, Abby. So in terms of other destination support, we have a whole range of careers and apprenticeship support, and I would strongly advise people not to take the path that goes, I'm going to university, so it doesn't matter what my careers, what I'm thinking about careers, because it does. It's really important to think about that as well. So I'm making two key suggestions here. Have a look at the Long Road Careers space on SharePoint, which students can access through Moodle, and really encourage students to do this. Students have been using Unifrog, some of them through school, but through last year. So this is a destinations platform that has everything on it. So it covers apprenticeships, careers, university. So it gives you the ability to explore different things, to explore what you're looking for, but also to start getting specific about, you could even put in, I'm looking for an apprenticeship in this geographical area, and start looking really clearly now at those final stages. So those are two places really encourage students to be looking at. Thank you, Abby. So on this slide, we've got some events and challenges that are happening in college, careers events across the year. This year, Tariq, our careers lead, is running a degree apprenticeship preparation programme. There will be some people listening who are signed up and ready for that. It is full, but there is a waiting list, so it may well be that you're not too late if you respond to the email now. So if you're thinking of one of the highly competitive degree apprenticeships, which we really would encourage you to do, then make sure you get in contact with Tariq straight away. If you've lost the email, students, then just contact your progress coach and see if they can get you on that waiting list. In November, we've got a general careers fair across all different careers. And another thing I wanted to highlight, we've got the NHS careers in March, and then we have the apprenticeship information evening, which is on the 12th of February. We would really encourage all students and parents to come along to that. Thank you, Abby. So just finally, one-to-one meetings. We've set this term's one-to-one meeting after half term because we found this is the best time for year twos. If we put it too early, lots of them haven't really got the idea of what they want and they want that help. So we go for straight after half term. Students can absolutely see their progress coach now. They should have seen them already in 2 tutorial sessions, and we held drop-in sessions today and yesterday. If they've missed all of this, please contact their progress coach, and I'm sure that they will find time to be able to see them. In the progress review, this will be designed specifically for you. So it depends where you are with things. If what you're looking at is wanting to look at apprenticeships, they'll be focusing in on that. If what you're actually looking at is dealing with some worries you've got on the academic side and getting over those hurdles, then they'll be focused on that. If you need, which lots of students do at this time of year, some final UCAS advice and to talk things through, remember this is your opportunity for doing that one-to-one. We will have lots of workshops and drop-in, but that is your one-to-one with your progress coach. The appointment comes through by email. Please don't miss that. Thank you, Abby. I think I just wanted to finish with this. a key purpose of tutorial, we've got lots of things, information and support that we can share, but tutorial and one-to-ones really help to build that regular contact. And if your progress coach knows you, then they'll know if things are needed, if things are going wrong, they will know how to help you in a way that helps you rather than just general advice. We want to offer guidance that suits you and helps you get onto the right path. So thank you, and I will hand over to Steve now.
Thanks, Isabelle. Thanks, Chris. I think that's all really, really good and useful advice there. Just to round off, I want to pick up on one point, really. Grades are really important. They are a big focus of our work, but they're not all of our work. As Isabelle has gone through, what I want to really push is that students take up all the opportunities that are available this year to find out about those next steps that are available to them, talk about the whole range of university courses, apprenticeships, jobs, and sometimes those are in places they might not expect. We invite a lot of people in to college. We invite universities in, we invite employers in, various outreach people who want to talk to students. And quite often when I see students and I say there's, University of Southampton or I've got a stand in the LRC this afternoon. And a student will say, well, I don't want to go to Southampton, so I'm not going to go and talk to them. The point is that those people that come in from any of the universities can answer all sorts of generic questions about student finance, about student life, about getting accommodation. They're not there just to talk about their own institution. The same with employers. We have a number of employers that come in and students will often only look superficially at what those employers might be offering. A good example that we have is Turner's, the lorry and logistics company that work out of Soham. They've contacted us a number of times and they come in to talk to students. But students will say, well, I don't want to be a lorry driver, so I'm not going to go along and talk to them. Turner's is a huge company across the country that employs 3,400 people. Not all of those are lorry drivers. They've got a huge number of admin, staff, managers, traffic logistics people. One of the groups of people they wanted to talk to were mathematicians who can work out nodes and transport networks and logistics and get highly paid for that sort of analytical work. And students just need to have that open mind of taking advantage of those things. One student that I will always remember working with, and you will see him probably on television quite frequently because he's now a reporter and journalist on ITV and is quite often popping up, Callum Fairhurst. He wasn't, and I don't think he'd mind me saying, the most academic of our students, but the one thing that Callum was absolutely brilliant at was networking and talking to people, hence his now job as a reporter. And I remember talking to him one time, and he used to carry around a little notebook and he would go and talk to all of these different people that came into college and anybody he met, and he would write down their name, contact details, and how they might be able to help him in the future in case he ever needed to contact them. And he used a number of those contacts very, very successfully after he left college. And I don't want students just to think that all this year is about grades. It's about so much more than that. And that's one of the reasons that I advertise all of the opportunities around careers and the wonderful work that Tarek and his team do in getting people to come in and talk to students. So I just really want you to have a look at that, talk about that with your young person, and encourage them to go along sometimes to talk to people that at first glance they might not think is appropriate to them, but actually might open some doors up. Thank you ever so much for joining us this evening. I hope you found it interesting. We will look at the questions that you've posted. I had a quick look just now, and there's nothing there that I think is sort of urgent, and we can address those in an FAQs we'll send out to all parents along with a link to access the video of this recording. So thanks very much for joining us. Thank you to Isabelle and Chris, and thanks to Abby for hosting the event. Good night.